Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Farmer Tan Podcast. Thanks for riding along with us today. You're going to want to stick around. We'll give you an update what's going on in the farm and the world where we're living right now. We'll have a quick yep or nope session. We might talk about a couple of our favorite tractors and maybe even share a story or two from when we were growing up. And we're probably going to hit a little bit on farm shows and are they really a necessity anymore? Is the internet kind of getting hard on them? And is there other ways to find information? So, we're going to share some opinions on that kind of thing. And who knows what else we might talk about. We appreciate you riding along. We'll be right back. We'll go at it. Welcome back to the Farmer Tan Podcast. We appreciate you guys riding along with us, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're... what would you be doing this time of year? Maybe cutting some hay down, raking some hay, baling some hay out of shredding road ditches maybe?
Yeah, that was today's project, was shredding or mowing. I know that could be a hotly contested subject of which one it is, but man, I forgot how hard
it's
that
shredding.
is. Okay, whatever. But I forgot how hard that is on a guy's back. 4430, 3-point mower, and you just come across the pivot tracks. Excuse me, the shredder bouncing across washouts, pivot tracks. I mean, tractor suspensions come a long way.
Yeah.
But also, you mentioned haying. I unwillingly put down cane just because it has been mid-90s and breezy here, and things are going backwards. The cane was starting to dry up, burn up, so I just went ahead and knocked it down. The windrows look like what I have after I don't mow my grass for 2 weeks. They're pretty pitiful. It's just kind of just enough to see.
Yeah, and boy, we dried out in a hurry. I mean, it rained. We were very fortunate. It rained pretty easy out here this spring, and just seasonable to mild temperatures. And when we turned the corner here, about the middle of July, or so, and we're about burnt up already. Really,
I know. We had a week of hot, but it was pretty calm and it stayed humid, and that sure helped.
Yeah.
But we got two days of wind with it, and it's amazing how much that can do. It's really crisp things up.
Yeah, for real. So, you guys can't see us obviously right now. Suffice to say that just heat and humidity are not my friend. I grow a bunch of cane as well. I guess this is kind of interesting, right? So everybody calls things differently based on what region you're in.
Just don't call it a mower if it's a shredder.
Right. Or, vice versa. But, so cane, some guys maybe call that Sudex or sorghum sedan or, if you're running a silage chopper through it, maybe sorghum silage. That's basically what we call cane out here. It's like Milo that got away and joined the military and then came back all buffed up and ready to go. So
real long and lanky.
Yeah, for sure. And so we grow a lot of that out here. It makes pretty good grinding hay.
The tonnage is kind of really what people go to it for.
Yep. It takes up space in a feedlot ration and does pretty well. But honestly, we have started going to cutting it twice a year, which we grow it in an irrigated situation, so we can do that. But, we'll cut it at 40 days or 40 inches, whichever comes first. And, really, we're getting some proteins in the 10 to 12 and good energy. Yeah, good energy in it. And so, we'll actually run that through the processor, in the wintertime for the cows or whatever. But I think August 10th is my cut date for my 40 days, so I'll be getting ready to cut some here. What is that, next week or 2 weeks from now, I guess. So so I guess that's what we got going there. What else, you just mowing today, or?
Yeah, just irrigating's full swing. I'd say most of our irrigated corn's at that blister kernel. So we're still at peak water use. Like I said, with the heat and the wind, you just cannot pump enough water to these crops. And then soybeans, we're early pod set. I don't think we've quite hit full pod set yet. So they're at peak water use. Everything's at peak water use. So it's just kind of keep them going best you can.
Are you all electric wells in, or you got power units?
I'm actually mostly power units. So we got pretty deep wells down there. Some of the deepest in the area. We're talking 250 feet to water, 300-foot wells, and a lot of it. So
Yeah.
two of my power units are 6.8 liter John Deere's, and one is a 7.1 liter, like what's on a 4960.
Oh yeah.
I've got one electric motor and one natural gas. So
Yeah, so we're in the valley, so we're just between Gothenburg and Brady, south side of the interstate, but you can hear the interstate from our place. We have one farm literally at the right time of year. If you dug a post hole, you'd drop post hole into water and it'd splash. I mean, I think that well actually it's down kind of close to the river, but it pumps from like 30 feet maybe. I mean, I think the well's
tough.
Yeah, it is. It's got a 20 horse electric motor, and I just plug it into 110. Just extension cord we run from the pole, but well, maybe not quite like that. But I mean, a lot of our wells just aren't terribly deep, I guess, especially by your standards. And most of the valley really is electric, and there is just really nothing terribly manly about clicking a switch and pushing a button and just it hums and you walk away. I grew up on like V8 Perkins power units that shook the whole ground and
you fell asleep to the sound of cicadas and power units.
Yo, for real, right?
Yeah, just that hum.
Yeah, and so electric wells are not terribly manly, but boy, they are nice.
Oh, so nice.
I mean, convenient. You're not changing oil.
No.
You're not changing spark plugs. For all you spark plug guys, you're running the old, 460s or 454s on propane or natural gas, or maybe you got some of the big block old Internationals even out there running. And
so many things can go wrong.
Oh yeah, we had so growing up we had a 413 Chrysler.
Oh yeah,
and it like an industrial power unit version, and it did not like to start. So once you had it running, it ran a lot. Had that thing on propane, and it turned the pipes kind of cherry at night.
Oh yeah,
that was
see
kinda,
that glow.
That was kind of fun, but. Yeah, you ain't a kid and grew up in a house with no air conditioning, so threw the windows open at night and listened to neighbors. You could tell which neighbors' pivots were running, by the sound of the power units. So,
but it is neat to walk up and see a tractor engine sitting on a stand and just get a fire that thing straight piped up. I mean, if none of us have good hearing for various reasons, mine's power units. I mean,
what's that?
I see what you did there. Turn your good ear this way, not the one you lean towards when you're turning the key on, the other one.
Right.
But straight pipe power units, that's a neat sound.
Oh yeah,
turbo whistle.
Oh yeah, and you got that rush of adrenaline when you throw the clutch in and wonder if all the U-joints are good in the drive shaft.
Now, my favorite game is like you just greased it, and how do you turn it on without flinging grease all over yourself?
Yeah.
And so it gets pretty adventurous on how you flip that and not obviously don't get yourself twisted up. That's first rule.
Right. Well, that's an important rule.
Yeah, and growing up, if mom saw grease in your clothes, that was good.
Yeah, bad deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, don't really miss the power unit days all that much now that we've sort of relived that. But you were mowing with 4430?
Yeah.
So probably just spring ride seat in that yet?
Yep.
Yeah.
So. It's kind of the scale of how good the bump is if you bottom out the seat or not. You hear that good thunk. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yep. So we had a 4432, I think about the time I got in junior high. That was really the only John Deere, I operated for a long time. And at some point, Aaron and I got, we had a 4955 that had the hydraulic seat. And if somebody who wanted the seat up higher had been in it last, when you fired that up and the hydraulics pressured up and it jam your head right up into the cab liner. So
good times.
Enjoyed that for sure. Along with getting hung by the door lock post, it'd catch the hood on your sweatshirt. You'd be bailing out of there to go tell the truck driver something at harvest time, and it'd get you around the neck.
Also, my boys will never know what it's like to take a nap in those sound guard cabs and nail your head off a bracket about when you dozed off. I mean,
for real.
You're sitting on the armrest, jammed between a window and your dad, and now these R series, like I got one sprawled out across the floor and still not in my way, and the other in the buddy seat with a huge door with a pillow propped up. I mean, It's good living in there now.
It is. I mean, you've got enough room on the floor to carpet farm on the floor of the tractor
man.
while you're farming
While
for
you're
real.
farming. And a real quick story, but one time I had the AC go out, and it was an 8370R, and I didn't want to open it up because Dad's real particular about keeping tractors clean.
Right.
Just had the edges left to do, so I was going to gut it out. Had no blower fan, no nothing. By the time I got to the end, I was getting lightheaded. I was, obviously sweaty. I finally got to the end, opened the door, and you can actually suffocate yourself, and those cabs are so airtight.
Yeah, I believe
it's amazing how much better I felt. The headache went away.
But in all fairness, I get lightheaded and sweaty in a John Deere too. So I mean, that's it is what it is. But yeah, you ain't a kid in there. I was just thinking while you were saying that, we grew up on a dairy farm, so we just left the doors and windows open on everything. So we just cleaned them out with a leaf blower or something, every so often. But,
every so often.
yeah, shout out to all the dairy farmers. You know what's up. But so yeah, I don't know. What have we been doing lately on the farm? I guess I was trying to think of that. Second cutting alfalfa's out of the way, so. We kind of got that done. I did go start some pivots up actually before I come in here. I got one on some alfalfa going, and we grow forage beans as well, and so we'll probably talk about them at some point. But I went and started pivot up on that. It got bumped on a control deal and didn't come back to life for some reason. So I guess you guys that are irrigating with electric wells know about control, but periodically the power company, they'll bump you to help manage load and that sort of thing. And you have scheduled days, and there's stuff you can sign up for, and you certainly don't have to do it, but it is a cheaper rate if you decide to. And so anyway, this one for whatever reason bumped and didn't restart, so went and restarted that, and I need to go start a pivot on some cane too. So chasing water, doing that kind of thing right now, I guess. Today we actually went and set a tire tank. I don't know if you guys got any of those, but
have them. Never had the joy of setting one.
It's fun.
Yeah,
and when it's 95, it's more fun.
I
but
mean, that black rubber's got to be real good on the skin.
It was, yeah. It was a hoot. But yeah, we got that set today. Aaron needed help. Just old steel tank, bottom rusted out of in one of the pastures. Thankfully there's about 3 tanks in that pasture, so it wasn't a super emergency. But a number of years ago, we bought a semi-load of these tire tanks, and we've just been putting them in, as the old steel tanks fail on us.
These are like military / dump truck. I mean, they're what, 10 feet?
This one is probably 12 or 14.
So, I mean, these things are heavy.
Yeah, it's like the ones they run on the mining trucks.
Yes.
Yep, and then they cut them in half, like around the center, and so the bead now becomes the bottom. And so yeah, we set that. I don't know how heavy they are. I've got an MX 215s, my loader tractor. It is absolutely about all that thing. Like, it will pick it up and scoot it off the trailer, and we kind of got it set into place. But it's one of those, you want to have the front tires pumped up good.
Mm-hmm. It's just a little less than that bench press.
A little.
Yeah.
But very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. Funny note on that. Side note, I helped coach baseball in the summer, and one of my baseball kids, now mind you, I was on coaching 12U, so they're 11 and 12-year-olds, and I had some kid trying to tell me that he could deadlift like 250 pounds or whatever, and I'm like, you're 12. You're 12. I don't think your dad can deadlift 250. I'm just saying. So, but anyway. So, yeah, got tire tank set. We pack the bottom bead full of dirt. Then we dump dry sacks of concrete in there and turn the water on and let it cure that way. So, had really good luck with them. A couple of fighting bulls ain't going to tear them up.
No, that's lasts a long time.
Yep. So that was a plan for today. Got that kind of done. Worked the store this morning till noon, and kind of got that done. So that's, I guess just trying to keep up with, fencing and whatever all else ranch stuff in the summer. But
yeah, I'd say kind of the biggest thing other than irrigating facing right now, July 3rd, we got hit with hail, pasture, and a couple pivots.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of figuring out what to do with that. It took the adjuster a long time to get there because we've had so much hail in the area. Finally, kind of It's a typical. The hail side was pretty simple, multi-peril. You got to leave test strips. So I was getting ready to destroy it. I was going to do a cover crop. Had a neighbor approach, said they would want to do it for silage on shares. So we're going to go after that before it sets an ear, because the stocks just will not support an ear. So we got that coming up. I've got to kind of manage the cattle on the pasture. We haven't caught a good shower recently to help that grass come back. It mowed it down, so probably going to be moving some cows to, luckily my brother had some extra pasture, so move some cows down there. So it's just kind of, that's kind of a wrench in the gears that it wasn't anticipating this summer that I'm kind of dealing with right now.
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing too. So
yeah, it's kind of, it's part of it. For some odd reason, we're just in a bit of a hail streak there.
Yeah. Are you going to are you have any fields you are going to destroy, or are they either going to make corn or silage? Or
yeah, they're going to do both of them on silage. So found a couple neighbors that will take some, that can feed it. He'll take half. So fortunately, I don't have to pay for the expense of chopping. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think a ton out well enough to justify that. Plus, I don't need that much silage. So
yeah,
it worked out good. It works out good for everybody. I was glad someone called me and mentioned it, because otherwise it would be getting just under, and that would be a big project. And it just works out better.
Yeah, it's that whole lemons and lemonade thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Which I don't know. I get most of my current events from memes, and which is also where I get most of my interesting tidbits and facts and stuff. But I saw somewhere one time that it said, unless life's also going to give you water and sugar, it's going to be pretty bad lemonade.
True.
So,
yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. Hopefully your lemonade turns out better. But done anything else fun this summer? Been camping or anything?
No. Inside joke there. No, just been, the boys are getting old enough that this year I've got to let them, we've been working together a couple days a week, kind of had them come around with me, so that's kind of been nice. They've kind of got to experience the whole farming life, getting early, just kind of learning what a working day is, and they enjoy being outside, so that's kind of been nice for both of us. Not that it hasn't been challenging at times, but so they've been swimming and fishing. It's kind of their biggest thing right now. Our youngest Elliot's really into fishing. Master angler at 4, just knows it all. He's educating me, telling me what I need to be doing.
Right.
I was gonna say, your son Owen's been up at the lake a couple times when they're there, and man, they just eat him up. They love everything. All the knowledge Owen gives is gospel. So
well, Owen is full of a lot of knowledge.
Well, so. Hey, I'm not catching anything. I decided to get my own fishing permit. If I'm going to be up there, I might as well be doing something. And goose egg for me, and they're catching fish, and I'm not. So clearly,
and he's pulled a few decent catfish out of there, I guess. So been good luck with that. But we went golfing here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a sight to behold. I mean, I heard the Open across the pond was a lot of high scores, a lot of tough golfing, and we did that on a real simple course in pretty good conditions.
Yeah, we didn't have to travel at all to be poor golfers.
No, but I mean, hole 2, Owen hit one into some trees, and man, I found about 10 golf balls there, and I don't count strokes. I count how many golf balls I come home with. If it's a -3 day or a +3 day.
Yeah.
And I think we were +6 that day.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good day of golf.
If you're 10 over, that's extra golf balls in the pocket for sure.
Exactly
so
right.
that's a good thing. But a little golfing. Jared, I asked him one time if he enjoyed camping, and he abruptly told me no, he did not. So that didn't go any further. But we do enjoy camping. So I was trying to think if we've been out twice, or maybe we've only been out once so far. It's been busy. But maybe we'll get on the backside of summer and get to do a little more camping. But enjoy camping, so do a little of that. And both my boys play baseball, so May and June we stay pretty busy with that, and I helped coach some of that this year, so that was fun. And I don't know what else, man. Just a little of this and a little of that everywhere else. So
I know everybody's busy, so it's just
for real
time of year.
All right, so this is time for a little session here that we call Yep or Nope. And I'm going to ask Jared the questions today. He has not seen these questions ahead of time. He could not prepare for it. And he does not get to explain his answers. He just gets to give a yep or no. So,
Oh, man.
Jared, do you know how to tell military time?
Yes.
You get upset when someone leaves the door open for too long while the AC is on.
Yep.
You have a favorite spatula.
Nope.
You've said, where in the world did all the pins go?
Not quite there, but I'll say yep.
All right, well, that's fair enough. There you go. That was yep or nope for today. I often wonder where all the pins go, and I have actually reached that point in my life where I have a favorite spatula. So, and I know exactly which one it is because it got knocked on the burner one day and melted a chunk out of the handle. But I will not give up on
It's
it.
battle tested.
It is. It keeps coming back. So. All right, so I got a question for you. You're talking about the 4430.
Right.
And so I started thinking about that, and I was wondering, I want to know your favorite tractor of all time, but it's got to be one that either you've owned personally or something that your family owned.
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. John Deere 4840. Grew up with it. It was kind of Dad's main farming tractor when I was younger until he got the 8300. Man, when was that? Late 90s. So, I mean, that thing had power beyond for its time. I mean, it was up until he traded it for a loader for that 8300. I mean, that thing was still doing field work at a level for the equipment we had. So, I mean, talk about an 80s tractor still doing it in 2000s, having enough snort.
Yeah, so a 4840 would have been mid-80s?
I think so.
On
I'm
that?
not positive
I don't know.
what
I'm
year
not
it
exactly
was.
sure.
But yeah, that's one of those tractors that got, I just wasn't at a point where it seemed feasible to buy it when Dad was trading it off, but that's a regret I have.
Yeah.
So I have the serial number for it. I'm looking at the online auctions. I know it went to the local dealer. I have a feeling it's still local. I'm hoping someday to get that tractor back because it was just kind of it was the neatest tractor when I was young. It was still neat when I started farming myself. I used it a couple times on my own operation, and it was just as great then as it was when I was a kid.
Yeah. And I mean, 40. So what? A 4840? You were talking in the 100 and
It's close to 200 horse.
I say, is that okay? I was gonna say maybe 180 or something.
Yeah, I would say that's probably close.
Two-wheel drive.
Yep,
Front wheel
two-wheel drive. But I mean, the front rims on that pretty wide.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weight in those front tires. Not a lot like a lot of other tractors. There was.
Yeah.
You had to work to pop that thing up. I mean, not saying it can't be done, but just not like a 4430 where you just have it 1200 RPM and dump it in second and away we go. Doing wheelies.
Right.
When
Yeah.
you're shredding.
when you're mowing the road ditch.
Here we go.
Or the greater ditch if you're from southeast
man,
Nebraska.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So I was thinking about that favorite tractors, and I probably my first favorite. We had an 826 International growing up. Granddad bought that brand new, and I think I'd have to ask Dad, but I think it was 69 and 1969. He bought it brand new. No TA on it, ordered it from the factory that way. He said, the torque always goes out on them tractors anyway, and he thought that was a big enough tractor. He didn't need it. A lot of 826s were hydros, but this one was a gear drive, and that was our big tractor for a long time, or second biggest tractor, I guess, from what I remember. But when they bought that, it was the big tractor. They pulled 5 anhydrous knives with it, and man, they thought they were, getting some work done. And boy, I'd hate to guess how many tons of silage that thing blew up the silo. It ran the silo blower forever. We ran it on the silage bagger. That was the main manure hauling tractor. I mean, it did a lot. Main planting tractor and all that kind of thing. And so I don't know. I guess that's what started my love out of red tractors. And anyway, it's still at home. It's in the corner of the barn. It's been retired. It really needs a resto job on it.
Oh, it's nice to still have it though.
Pretty bad, but it is still there. And so hopefully me or my brother or somebody will get a chance here sometime in the future to just fix that thing back up. But So that is probably my favorite tractor. That's, one that I spend a fair amount of time on learning to drive. And, it's kind of funny, but so an 826 is like 80 PTO horse, right? And but I remember planting, we were pulling we used to have like a 7000 series Deere finger pickup planter, or maybe it was a 7200. It's been long enough, I can't remember. But anyway, it was a drawbar planter, 6-row, and that 826, man, we had saddle tanks on it like it was the real deal. And Dad out there planting away, and man, it probably, I don't know what year it would have been. If it would have been 93, it was a pretty wet year. And we had duals for it, axle mount duals. So we slapped the duals on that thing, and man, we thought we were big time, right? But but it kind of seems a little silly now that 80 horse tractor, you'd put duals on it anyway. But
if you got it, it'll pull it. Just let her eat, right?
Yeah, man, that's what we did. And so I don't know that. You just think by today's standards, planting on an open station with a pull type 6-row around here anyway.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that before, but that's back. Farming was work.
Oh man, yeah.
Now getting in the tractor's like almost a day off. It's just
it
is so much different.
Yeah, I'm ready to go cut hay. I'm tired of putting tire tanks in, so I'll go sit in the swather and not have to work so hard. But it was. And there is definitely work to aspects of farming now,
right.
but I mean, boy, I don't know. You plant 100 acres a day on an open station tractor, man, you've got some work done.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a disappointing day anymore. So
I would think.
Yeah, we're more productive, but yeah, it's gotten a lot easier, and yeah, every generation works hard. I believe that.
For real.
I know a lot of times you look at the older generations and think they worked a lot harder in a lot of ways. Physically, they did. And it's just a different type of work now. We're all still working hard. It's just, planting's easier than it was, but we're also planting probably 5 times as much per person than, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, we were loading like dual 2 Magnum or something in 150 gallon saddle tanks on that 826 and
pouring granular insecticide that smelled like green apple.
Yep.
Which is probably a bad sign if you know what it smells like.
Right. Yeah,
that won't come back to bite me.
No, I'm sure it just, that little twitch you got in your, that'll go away. Yeah. But, and growing up, so down in that part of the world, we're basically full tillage down there. So, we disc everything in the spring usually. Sometimes if fall was open enough, we might run a disc in the fall, but anyway,
good dirt out there.
Yep, and so we'd disc everything. We'd knife and hydrous in, and then you'd hit it once with the field cultivator, and then go to planting. And so, on that planter we had Dad always in those saddle tanks. They were like 150 gallon a piece, and we mixed up whatever chemistry concoction. We were running. You're laughing because
it was like our Demco side
right
now or. 550 aside.
Right aside. Right.
So 1,100 total.
Yeah, right. And, but we never split that 826 in half either. So.
That's true. We haven't yet, but we're working on it.
But yeah, so we would spray while we were planting. And so whatever chemistry cocktail he was laying down, atrazine and whatever else. I suppose when Roundup came along, we probably put some of that in too, just to burn off any little grass that was coming. But had a sprayer boom mounted to the back of the planter. Each individual row unit had its own sprayer nozzle. Yeah, and then the planter itself had tanks on it, so we were laying down starter fertilizer with that. And so
it's just the epitome of efficiency there.
Well, we thought it was pretty cool, and I will say as time went on, we kind of went away from spraying with the planter. Dad got a little better sprayer, and we would just, do our pre or whatever ahead of time or chase the planter or whatever we were doing. But yeah, growing up, we had to load saddle tanks, you had to load seed corn, you had to put force insecticide.
Everything was in bags, I forget.
Yeah.
Sometimes the pro boxes are not that old.
No, they're not really. And so bags of seed corn in there and bags of force insecticide in the back. And
it took probably a good hour to load an 8-row planter.
I do remember,
that might be exaggerating a little bit.
Well, it depends if the pump.
Depends on the help.
Yeah, or if the fertilizer pump wanted to run.
Most kids were helping. It probably took an hour.
Yeah, well, and that was my job. He'd hand. So I do remember bulk chemical shuttles, and he would hand me the nozzle for that, and I'd be standing on the step running it in the tank, and he said, "When the meter reads this, shut it off and go to the next one." And so I'd run the chemical in there while he was putting seed in the boxes, and then once got the chemical in, we had a water wagon. We'd plug that in, and I'd fill the tanks full of water. While he was putting the insecticide in, because I guess herbicide was not as dangerous as the insecticide part. So he'd load the planter with everything and plus fertilizer, and I'd load saddle tanks and I don't know, but it was fun. I mean, when we play farmed, we carpet farmed, it was the same thing.
Exactly.
I mean, we had our pickup set up with tanks in them, and we had a flatbed trailer with a tank on it, and I mean, that was all we knew, I guess.
Oh, I know, and I mean, talk about the day. I mean, no cell phones, no internet. I mean, being outside was the best. I mean, the best thing. Yeah, carpet farming was good, but you had all winter to carpet farm. I mean, that was the off-season farming, and in the summer it was, how much can you be around Dad before you slow him down?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure I slowed him down a lot.
Yeah, but now you look back at your own kids and you kind of understand the other side. You see the excitement, you understand how much you got to get done, but there's value in just having them around, and it's okay to lose a little, time efficiency.
Yeah, okay, so you brought that up, and I remember, there's this one I'll always remember, and this was, boy, I couldn't have been 5, maybe. And we had a 70-40 Alice growing up, and we had a, I don't know what it was, probably 24, 26 foot fuel cultivator that we pulled behind it, and that was back in the days, I don't even know. So if you haven't figured out, Jared and I you're what, 8?
Age-wise?
Yeah, 8
33.
years. 8 years younger than me almost. So I don't know if you remember Eradicane or not as a product, but it was one that had to be incorporated. Okay. And so we had a big 3-point sprayer that we put on the back of that Alice. They'd taken the booms off, and so we were just carrying the tank on the 3-point, and then we had a sprayer boom set up mounted on the fuel cultivator, and we had to incorporate that chemistry. And so we were in the same field as Dad. Dad was planting. I think at that time he was running like a Cyclo 600 international planter, pulling it with a gas burner 706, and Grandpa and I, we were in the 70-40 field cultivating away and putting that down. And for whatever reason, it was kind of a cold, damp spring. And, those old field cultivators wanted to be dump rakes.
Yeah.
Worse than they wanted to be field cultivators. Yeah. Just miserable. And it's like anything else. We were growing 150 bushel corn and 300 bushel trash, trying to get through it. And in that part of the world, we didn't graze stalks or anything like that. We didn't anyway. And so, it had probably been dissed once and anhydrous, but anyway, the trash was not flowing. So if you've ever been in an Alice, there's this little spot, like kind of behind and beside the seat in the back cab corner, and it's just right for a 5-year-old to sit back there. It's sort of the inside hump of the fender well, and so I was sitting back there, and Grandpa said, my job was to look out the back window and let him know when trash was plugging up the field cultivator. And so, because by then he's old and turning around's not as much fun, and so, which I understand now, but so anyway, so I was riding, Grandpa's plugging up, and he'd, and so we'd lift it up and go out where we hadn't been and kind of, the drill. You shake it up and down, shake it and bounce it and shake it out and come back.
Yeah.
So we'd go for a while. Grandpa's plugging up again. Boy, and I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree, but I'm starting to correlate me telling him it's plugging up with him being grouchy. And so I thought, well, we'll avoid the grouchiness. Right, and we're going to let it go a while before we tell him.
Grandpa's supposed to be a lot of fun.
Well, he was supposed to have been. Yeah. So we'd went about the length of the pivot, and we were dragging a small haystack. Hey, it's plugged up again. And oh, man, he looked back there, and we had made a hay bale. And he was mad. And I don't know that he was overly mad at me, but he was
more mad at the situation.
He was not impressed, and for whatever reason, when Grandma brought lunch to the field, I got sent home with her after I didn't get to participate the rest of that day. So I thought that was narrow-minded of him, but
that's right.
I don't know. So I don't know. What about something that I've thought about this, and I even said it to Dad, and I know we're a little early on this, but I guess we're going to talk about it anyway. I wish I could go back in time and go to like Husker Harvest Days.
Yeah.
When the stuff that we were farming with then was brand new.
Right.
Right?
I think about that a lot too.
And so maybe we actually need to go to the Half Century of Progress show, because I think that's kind of what that is. I mean, I think, I'm probably going to catch heat for this if I tell you wrong, but isn't that in Illinois, maybe?
You got me.
I'll have to look that up.
The rock I live under is pretty heavy.
Well, you just got indoor plumbing finally, so.
Still chasing Indians out of the back.
Right. So, I mean, fast internet is a few years off maybe, but.
Party line.
Right. Yeah. 3 long rings and 2 short rings. But I don't, boy, now I should have looked that up, but Half Century of Progress show is basically, and I think they go clear back to like, I mean, they probably have F-20 Farmalls and like Waterloo Boyd, deer stuff. And I think it runs into like the 80s maybe. So they probably have your 4840 there as well. But, they do, so it's a working farm show, right?
Yeah.
So they actually, they'll take combines like, there might be an old, what was John Deere's, like a 95 or something.
I remember our first one's a 7720 Titan too.
Oh.
And I mean, the signal that thing would put out, you could see the smoke for probably a good mile.
Right.
So you had to take something to Dad. It was just kind of look up for the black smoke, and that's where we went.
I miss the old days when you could look across the fence row and see how hard the neighbor was farming.
Exactly.
Like, oh, look at it, man. He's pulling the guts out of that thing.
Yeah, and I mean, why John Deere ever went away from the top of the cab being yellow, I mean, that hid cab corn very nicely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I've seen a lot of yellow cab combines.
But
yet.
it's right. It's not. It's aftermarket.
Right. Afterthought. Yeah, for sure. That 7040 Alice, it you could tell how hard you were working it, for sure. But yeah, so I mean, they'll take a 915 International Combine or some of those older combines. They'll actually pick corn. They have corn pickers. I mean, mounted corn pickers and
sure.
Pull type ones, and they'll do all that. But then, I mean, they do a plow day. But I mean, I think the show goes on for a week or 10 days or whatever. But they'll do plowing and tillage, and I mean, they do the whole thing. And I mean, they're running D21 Alice's, or they're running like a 1066 International, or they the 4020s, or the 60-30 or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of that type of stuff out there. So maybe that's actually the show we need to...
Yeah, probably so.
We need to go to. But, we have always been... And this is not a knock against any farm show. Not Husker Harvest Days, not Farm Progress, none of those. But I have always been a big farm show goer. But it seems to me like they have changed drastically since I started going, like, when I was in junior high in the late 90s. And I'm sure they've changed drastically from whenever the first Husker Harvest Days was in the 80s or whatever. But
yeah.
I just wonder, are you running, whatever you're running for a combine now, are you going to go to Husker Harvest Days and see an S790 or a, whatever, X9 and go, well, I think it's time to switch.
Yeah, no, that's just kind of, when you first brought this up, that was one of the points I thought of, was like, why has, these kind of shows changed? And I think it's just because these equipment manufacturers no longer are catering to a wide range of buyers.
Yeah.
I think kind of back on the, whatever day you want to insert, 70s, 80s, it was kind of... Every farmer, when a tractor came out, could probably buy a new tractor.
Sure.
So it was just a matter, I'm going to use my 4840 for example, big time farmer Bob would get himself 1 or 2 4840s for his equipment. Smaller guy get a 4240.
Right.
I mean, it's essentially the same tractor, just a matter of how much horsepower you have. And but everybody was kind of in the market, could buy new equipment if they wanted to. And now it's just gotten to a point where John Deere, Case, whoever, only has to cater their new equipment to a few guys that are actually going to be able to afford and run a piece of machinery that big and use it to its potential to make a cash flow. They don't really need to cater to guys like me anymore, because we're just going to get those leftovers. We're going to pick them up because we're not, and it's not feasible for us to buy new.
Right.
So what do they care if I come to Husker Harvest Days and walk around their lot? I'm not in the market. I can't buy those pieces of equipment anyway. So why not just go out and find the big guys? You market it to them. You don't need to buy a lot on a farm show and show it to everybody.
Right. And, I kind of think from the standpoint of it, let's say that you are, or someday you are, on the machinery side in the mood to buy new or lightly used, right? Mm-hmm. And but maybe you're going to switch brands. Like, well, I don't know, just John Deere ain't getting it done for me. I'm gonna run like Fendt or something, right? But when you get to that point, you're probably not going to do that research really at Husker Harvest Days.
That's what I was thinking too.
Because you're probably going to be on the internet. You're going to find, you're going to get on New Ag Talk, or you're going to get on. I'm so old. I remember when Twitter was still called Twitter. Is it X or
X,
Twitter or X Twitter or anyway, whatever it is? But you're going to try to hook up with people who are actually running that piece of equipment. Anymore it's not. You'll find a buddy or an acquaintance for sure. Like, hey, are you running that tractor today? And they're like, well, yeah, I'm out strip tilling with it. Like, can I just come ride with you or run it around or two and just see? And so I think that day of swinging that decision, but even if you look at seed corn, right? Like, if you decide you're going to plant Pioneer and that's what you're planting, and you're kind of interested in maybe some DeKalb too, like, you're probably not making that decision at Farm Progress Show. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm wrong. I had the same vein of thought. And I don't know if that's just a generational thing.
I think it is, and it's a combination of how we consume information. Because I was thinking before the internet, and this could go into multi-pronged things, but I feel like you used to go to the dealership to learn about the equipment you were interested in, and the salesman was the conduit that gave you the information about this new tractor, this new field cultivator, whatever. You were learning it from the salesman. It was their job to educate you. I think now I'm going to go to the internet. I'm going to learn as much as I can on there. I'm going to talk to people who have similar equipment, read reviews. By the time I go to a dealership for a car, piece of equipment, anything, I think my mind's 70% made up.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of price. Like, I know most of it. So I don't know if that's part of the difference too, is I'm not going to go there and listen to a 30-minute presentation on a tractor. That's just not my interest to go do that now.
Right. And, so I actually sold for a Case IH dealership for a little bit here, a number of years ago, salesman for them. And, what was interesting at that time even was there, as a salesman, I brought value to the deal, but I had customers coming in that almost knew more about the machinery than I did. And just because that is all that information is out there, and like you said, maybe they already talked to somebody who is running that machinery, or whatever it may be. And, so that was kind of one of those things where, I am not the sole pipeline of that information. Mm-hmm. So if it's that way at the dealer level even, then certainly at the farm show level,
sure, I
wouldn't expect any different. But it kind of makes me sad, right? Because I love the farm show.
Yeah.
But I have noticed even just a change in the farm show. So, we've went to Husker Harvest Days, forever. And there is starting to be some big names that are starting to become absent from the show itself.
Yeah, I've got a theory on that. But I'm thinking, COVID gets blamed for a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
And I think kind of as far as farm shows go, what COVID showed a lot of companies, I think, is when they were told you can't interact with people anymore, or interact with your customers, and their sales continued to go strong, I think a lot of them are like, well, what are we doing here? Why are we paying this kind of money for this size of lot at Husker Harvest Days or whatever farm show it may be if our business didn't get affected for those 2 years we didn't associate with customers? Like, they're still gonna, I mean, they still came to us, they still bought our equipment, they knew what they needed. Are we even really doing anything here? So I think COVID kind of almost, allowed companies to be a little lazier on the whole selling to the customer point, knowing, I don't know if it's just a more informed customer or they're targeting a smaller customer base. But I think that just that was a way for them to see that, hey, maybe we don't need to allocate so many resources into customer service.
Yeah, for real. No, I think you're probably right on that. And something that I have noticed, oftentimes when you go to the farm shows, so it's the small stuff that is interesting, right?
It's kind of the hole in the wall when people come away talking about, like, I didn't know this existed, this is exciting. It's not the old tried and true brands.
Right. Or, you find... everybody knows that the major players all have a decent combine, right? Or a big tractor or a big silage cutter or whatever it is. But you find that tool that you didn't know you needed till you found it. Or maybe you found like a smaller implement, that you didn't realize you need. Like, man, that would work really well for, whether you're shredding trees in a pasture or, it's a different take on a pivot track closer or whatever it is. Some of that kind of stuff maybe.
You're like, I didn't know Kubota made that, or stuff like that. You just kind of walk away. Or, I mean, even when the Tri-Bind shows up, do I ever need a Tri-Bind? No.
Yeah.
But that was darn cool to see.
Right.
Some of that just kind of off the wall stuff.
Yeah, for real. I don't know. But anyway, that is some of just my best memories. Is finally by the time I was in junior high, Dad said, okay, you're old enough to go with me and not slow me down.
Yeah, right. A lot of walking.
Man, so much walking, right? And so I've been going since I was in junior high, which would have been in like 96 probably, I think would have been about my first one. Or 97, I don't know, somewhere in there. And so we've kind of seen it progress. Like, there was still a lot of true machinery there. Saw the kind of big boom on technology.
Right.
I remember when Seed Corn Row had, whatever it is, 20, 30, 40 different seed corn vendors, and now that's kind of getting whittled down.
It's amazing how they all have the biggest ears you've ever seen.
Ever. I mean, ever. And, you go in and they have, some information and some stuff there. But I think, it's people looking for free bags and free yardsticks.
It's a lot of looking for free stuff.
Yeah.
Which the free stuff has gone down. I think a lot of that is, and I think a lot of these companies now treat it more, instead of a sales event, it's more of a showcase.
I think so.
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking on, the equipment stuff at farm shows, I think price transparency has been another issue for customers not being so excited to kind of go to these farm shows, because you look at this combine and you want to know how much it costs. Well, there's so many options, and they don't want to nail themselves down to a price. So it's even hard to get a price out of anybody when you see something and you just kind of want to price shop, and they almost want to get you halfway through a contract before they really nail you down a price.
Yeah, for real. And I will say, and I'm not going to call out a brand, but it's somebody who's kind of up and coming, but maybe isn't super prominent in the row crop world at the moment. And when they were entering that market, they were there, and we went to the booth, and they had a tractor with bar axles and big frame, and it was a row crop tractor. And so I just said, hey, like, you guys are rated for saddle tanks and all that kind of stuff. And the guy's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And so I said, well, like, some guys talk about hanging barrels on the side of the tractor, like anything. And he's like, yeah, I still don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. He's like, I'm not from anywhere around here. And I'm like, well, okay, so you come to Husker Harvest Days. We're predominantly, row crop, corn and soybean side, cattle stuff and that sort of thing. Like, you should probably know if your tractor can handle saddle tanks, or what a saddle tank even is. And so that's a little bit of it, is they ship in the corporate guys.
They do.
And I'm not dogging on them, but like, if they don't even know what we're talking about, how can they even know if their equipment will do it?
Exactly.
And so that's
that too.
That's a bit of a frustration there, I guess. Yep. But I don't know. You said something about I didn't even know Kubota made that. I'm sort of interested in a Kubota tractor.
You know, we talked about that, but they've kind of caught my eye. I've talked about Deere case. I'm like, would somebody just make an economical version of what you're doing for guys like us? And then it goes back to my original thought. I'm like, well, why would they? They're doing just fine selling to a few big guys. You know, why would they do an economy? It just doesn't make sense. I feel like that's kind of where Kubota's starting at. Part of me wants them to stay there. I hope they kind of do. But talked to a guy at a Kubota dealership when I was just killing time waiting on a car to get serviced, and he talked about, hey, this is designed for maintenance to be easy. We keep the hydraulic levers mechanically driven, not electronically. So this is kind of meant to be a tough, simple, economical tractor, and I really like the way they were built.
Yeah.
The tractors either come with Firestones or Michelins.
Yeah.
I mean, and so you're getting good tires, which this day and age is worth a lot.
Yeah, right.
And just take a look around, you can see, like, you just had that sense of confidence, say, hey, I think I could fix a few things on this. Had I, where I look at my series Deere, and I'm just afraid to look at it wrong, and that a wire in the harness might short out.
Yeah, and right, for sure. And I don't know. I like the Magnums. I'm not so sure. Maybe someday when it comes time to update that, if Kubota's in the market at that 200 horse row crop style bar axle, big front end, something that that I can pick up 2 big round bales at the same time with, and all that kind of thing. I don't know that I wouldn't take a serious look at them, probably.
Yeah, I think if you're going the big row crop tractors, I still think that's John Deere and Case's game. I just don't think anybody's really close to those big row crop tractors.
Except Fenton Claus.
True, I haven't been around them enough, so
I haven't either, really.
I know they're kind of making waves, but I can't talk to them too much. But that 200 and under horse tractor market is getting really interesting.
Yeah.
I think Deere has kind of brushed that off. I don't think they're really interested in doing that market so much anymore. And there's a lot of other companies kind of getting in with, I think they're listening more. It's kind of hard to listen less than Deere at this point.
Yeah.
But I think they are listening to guys, what they want. And so it is interesting. It used to be just green or red, and that's kind of what you hung your hat on. Not saying you didn't have others. Your Alice's too, but it's just, I think now guys got to look at options, because it's just Deere and Case are kind of pricing themselves out of a lot of the markets we're in.
Well, and it's interesting. If you farm 10,000 acres, you probably don't need 150 horse tractor.
No,
really,
there's guys mowing ditches with 235 horse
yeah,
tractors.
right. They're putting the R series on there.
Yeah.
And, honestly, there's Westfield or Brandt or whatever your auger flavor is, that, their recommended horsepower is 200 plus on those augers. So, I do understand that, but not everybody is in that boat either. So,
especially the livestock guys.
Yes.
They're kind of getting left behind in it all.
Yes, and so I'm kind of interested, what Versatile's back in the market.
Yeah, I saw that's interesting me too.
And at one time, it was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, or somebody out there probably knows, and feel free to correct me, but I think when they started coming kind of back to the market, the tractor that they were basing their entry tractor on was like the New Holland Genesis series.
Okay.
So what would those have been, like an 8870 or an 89 something, I think. Think like Case IH guys, like boxcar Magnum time frame. Okay. So like 72 30s 40s 50s. Well, New Holland had something on that side. They called them the super steer, which I got to be careful with because sometimes I call them the stupid steer. Because, well, so the front end turned like a typical front end, and then it had like a I don't even know, like the entire front end would rotate as well besides turning. It was like a turntable style, and it was supposed to let you turn crazy sharp, like in for row cropping, but I think they did not work that well once they got some hours on them, and I think a lot of guys spent a lot of money to keep them things working, and so, but anyway, I think that was kind of maybe one of the base sort of idea for Versatile coming back, and I think those were really good tractors.
Yeah, they were. I'd never been around them. They kind of stayed east of here, out in probably the I-States, a lot of them.
Yeah, probably.
But people talk glowingly of them. I mean, you got the Versatile guy, you got the Steiger guy, and those guys just, they love them. They'd stand by them. So I have seen some. They intrigue me. I see Big Bud's trying to do a little bit of a comeback. I don't know if that'll ever get to mass production. Not everybody needs a Big Bud, but no. Everybody wants a Big Bud.
I think. Did you go to Husker Harvest Days last year?
No, that's kind of my issue. I haven't been to farm shows in a couple of years because Husker Harvest Days moved it back another week into September, and we are always cutting
beans. Yeah.
And we, anybody's been to Husker Harvest Days knows it's either going to be windy and hot, or it's going to be very muddy and cool.
Yeah.
And the past few years have been windy and hot. That's good for soybean cutting, not good for me going to Husker Harvest Days. I need a rainy and cool day to make it back over.
Yeah.
Well, have a Misty's pork sandwich again.
Yes. Well, the good news is that, and I would be interested to talk to somebody from Husker Harvest Days to see what their overall attendance is doing. In my mind, I feel like it's down. My wife and I have been to enough shows. We went in the middle of the week last year, like on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
And usually, man, that is so full. It's hard to talk to people. And I mean, last year, there was about 2 hours in there where it was pretty busy. And other than that, it was kind of slow. So overall, I would like to know what the numbers are doing, but I mean, they've concreted all the streets now.
Yeah.
So the days of stomping through the mud, if it is rainy, is all kind of over. I mean, they've done some phenomenal improvements.
But I'll see if you back me up on this. But there's got to be so many go-karts flying, golf carts, sorry.
Yeah. Go-kart.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know. Go-kart would be fun.
But I mean, so many golf carts going around. And it's just it's miserable walking anymore. You've either got somebody too slow in front of you.
Yeah.
And about the time you get ready to merge in the other lane and go around them, here comes a golf cart.
Yeah.
So part of that, I mean, it's just that it's getting so clogged up with equipment driving around.
Yeah.
And obviously the time of year, which is Husker Harvest Days, that's why it is when it is. All these other farm shows are in the winter. It makes a ton of sense. Those would be easier to go to, but like I said, the rock I lived under is rather large, and I just don't make it into Iowa or Louisville, so I've never been to those.
Yeah, and no, I do agree with you. In fact, I've actually thought about taking a golf cart or a side-by-side so I don't get run over.
I just want to snowplow in front of one and just kind of get them off then.
Well, it's hard to carry all the free stuff if you got to walk all day.
Any equipment dealer wants to loan me a loader just to kind of clear the streets out.
Yeah, maybe we ought to go out there and just rent golf carts. Somebody's probably got that stitched up.
Just hop in the ones they just got abandoned and go park them somewhere else.
Right. So, but yeah, and I'd like to go to Farm Progress Show. I think that's a little bit ahead of Husker Harvest Days, but probably not much. And it was kind of the same time of year. Or maybe it's even the end of August. I'm not sure. Somebody that goes to that, hit me up and let me know when it is. But I'd like to go to that. I'd like to go to Louisville Farm Show.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it.
I'd like to go catch a tractor pull down there. Just big into tractor pulling anyway. But I would like to actually see the show. If I ever get ambitious enough to travel on a grand scale, like the Agritechnia show or whatever it is over in Europe.
Oh, man, I didn't even know that one existed.
I think that'd be fun, just to see, just because, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I also think farm shows are a little more fun when you're actually eyeing something.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to just purely window shopping. I mean, window shopping's nice, but when you're kind of in the market for something and But like you said, it's not salesmen in the local area anymore. So you go up and ask them a bunch of questions. They hand you a magazine and tell you good luck.
Yeah, yeah. No, I will agree with you. If you go with a goal in mind, it definitely makes it more fun. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll get you drug out of the combine and down to Husker Harvest Days this year. But
yeah, hey, bring some rain.
we'll see. Well, we need rain.
Never turn down a rain in this part of the state.
No. I said something bad about rain once a few years ago, and it took about 3 or 4 years for it to rain again. So
there's always someone that does, and we all pay for it.
There was some folks trying to complain a little this spring, and I wasn't going to have any
I
of
know,
it. So
you just shut that down right
yeah,
away.
you got to. So, well, hopefully we catch the rain. I don't know. I guess we went probably far enough that maybe we'll shut this one off here. If you are still with us, we really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, let us know. Leave us some comments. You can find us Farmer Tan Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, maybe YouTube, and you can certainly leave comments. Tell us what you want to talk about or what you want us to talk about. And I don't know, this one was okay, right?
Yeah, not bad for a first one.
Yeah.
Take constructive criticism, welcome.
Yeah.
Mean comments.
Yeah, we ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
But just come back. They'll get better. I promise they'll get better.
Hey, you're on the ground floor. Just
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah, someday you'll be like, hey, I remember when those guys started out and they weren't very good, but now they're just kind of average. So, but anyway, yeah, if you're still riding along, we appreciate it. We hope you get everything done that you're wanting to get done in the week you're listening to this, and be safe. We'll catch you next time.